Hey, welcome to Our Defining Moments. I'm your host, Mary McClements. In this podcast, I talk with people about the split-second moments in their lives that sent them in directions that they never expected. From the woods of Vermont to the streets of San Francisco to the Camino de Santiago in Spain, you may be astonished by the chain reactions these moments have had not only for my guests, but for those around them. Oh, I'm so excited for you all to meet my guest today. I'm always excited to be able to share people's stories and experiences. But my guest today, Kassia Golden, has a pretty unique defining moment that led her down a path that the majority of folks, at least that I know in the world, wouldn't take or couldn't take because it requires a unique gift. Kassia was born in Germany, and at a very young age, I think 7, she knew she wanted to be a nurse. In fact, she lived next door to a hospital. And from what I read on her website, she said something like she assumed that being a nurse was her life calling, but the universe had different plans for her, which I just love. So welcome, Kassia.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here and you're looking glowy and, beautiful as you always do. And you emanate this, you emanate like a different kind of light. Like, I don't know if you've ever been to Italy, but when I went to Italy 20 years ago, I was like, ooh, the light's different here. And I feel like you have that kind of like light, people, anyway. I don't know what.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
back at you.
Oh,
it's
thanks.
Shining. Yeah,
it's the silver hair, I think, for both of us.
It's more than that.
Yeah, okay. I downplay it. Thank you. So to get started, and before we get into your defining moment, I would love a quick geographical map of your life, where you were born, where you moved, kind of where you've been throughout the world.
So I was born close to Stuttgart in Germany, because when people hear Germany, they always want to hear where in Germany.
Not that anyone knows all the towns, but
sometimes they know it because we are the ones who are breeding the Leonberger dogs. And Leonberger. Yeah.
What is that?
Look at them. They are beautiful dogs. They look like a lion.
Oh. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so some people know my town just through those dogs, but otherwise you wouldn't know it because it's fairly small. And so it's close to Stuttgart.
Okay.
In 1995, I moved to the US very briefly to North Carolina. Then I moved back to Germany. Then I moved to the US again in 1997 to Detroit, Michigan. Moved back again. And the third time was the charm. And that was 2002. Yeah.
Yes.
Was married to a Marine. When people know me today, they would never guess. But I lived that whole life. Yeah. And so I lived in North Carolina, Maryland. Then I myself moved to Vermont, Vermont. And I actually thought I'm going to grow old there.
You thought you were going to grow old in Vermont?
Yeah. The universe had a different plan. And so I got sent to Sedona, Arizona. And I lived there for 2 years, which was amazing. Where else was I? Then California, short term, which was wonderful too. Back to Vermont for a year and a half. India for a little less than a half year. Yeah.
Wow.
Then where else was I? Back to Vermont for 2 months. The places kept calling me, and drawing me back in. But from there to Kauai for a little less than 2 years, which was beautiful. I mean, really, it is heaven on earth. Then to Portland, Oregon, back to Sedona.
Wow. So you said really quickly, like, oh, this place called me. So what do you mean?
Oh, it's a good question. I mean, this would make more sense once we talk about my pivotal moment.
Okay. All right. We'll hold off on that. But
I think that's a good idea. And then it makes sense.
Yeah. And
what calls me and who calls me and why am I being called? It's quite fascinating.
Yeah. So, right. That is so fascinating. And I guess my question is, without sharing what you do to make money in the world, what do you believe you're here on this earth to do?
That's a good question. I do see and believe that there are two groups of people here on earth. The ones who are here for their own soul development. And there's often the language of, I'm here, how do I get there? Mm-hmm. If I do this, I will reach this. And then there's a second group who says, how can we assist you? That's a very short story. And again, comes back to the pivotal moment. Yeah. Why do I think that? Yeah. Or why do I see that really?
So which group do you think you're in?
The second one, how can I assist you? And you meaning the collective.
And the collective is, so the collective is the community of the world.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
So you feel as though you're here to help our world collective grow and expand
very
and
much
evolve.
So
nice. I love it. I mean, that's such a broad, it's like more than a 35,000 foot view. It's like, I don't know, it's infinite. And
I like that. Yes. Yeah. And I wouldn't say helping them to grow. I would say reminding people what they came here to do, reminding people of their beautiful essence, because they are growing themselves. And I'm here to bring the water and the nourishment so they can grow. And the insights in regards to what are you here for? Yeah.
So amazing. Well, you perfectly segued into your pivotal moment, your defining moment. I'd love for you to share.
Yeah. So I haven't talked very openly about this just with people one-on-one. However, I think there's an importance to what happened to me.
And I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful that you're willing to do this.
Thank you. Yeah. It does take courage because there's a stigma around it. I always tell people I've died in 2010 and I came back with the gift of seeing. That's the short story. The longer story, and I'm going to not make it too long.
Oh, that's okay.
I was living, you could call it the white picket fence life, not line, the white picket fence life. I was engaged. We had, our 2 cars, motorcycle, beautiful home, very Republican, which this is not about politics here, just to get a picture. Yeah. And something was just missing in my life. I had a beautiful person coming in who ignited something in me back to spirituality that I used to have in Germany. Then I moved to Vermont from Maryland. Yeah, you have to picture me with my leather jacket. Always my hair was very short, always put together, with the beautiful little hair coming down here. Everything was always in place.
And if I can pause for a second and describe you now, would that be good? Or do you want to describe yourself?
Please do describe me. I'm curious how you would see me.
Oh my gosh. Well, the light that we talked about, you have this light, you have this glow. I think how somebody might categorize you is hippie, but it's so much more. There's something else. You have this beautiful long silver hair. Are you German looking? I mean, I don't know. Is somebody American?
I actually have Greek. A lot of people would have Greek.
Oh, you're half Greek.
My mother is from Greece, yes.
Oh, interesting.
But I don't think I look like that either.
Yeah. Like I wouldn't say you look German and I wouldn't say you have a unique, beautiful look. You have like dangly earrings and a colorful floral tank top or dress or something. Yeah. And you have some tattoos and you're like, I mean, I've only seen you in photographs, except for a few times.
Yes.
And you always look so gorgeous.
Thank you.
So anyway, so the picture was short, coiffed hair, makeup. Yeah, you don't really wear makeup now.
Yep. True. A little bit for my eyes. That's about it. Yeah. High heels. Moved to Vermont, and I was told, "Oh, you cannot dress like this here because we are having the mud season." And I was walking into this yurt. That was one of my first memories of Vermont. I walked into this yurt. Someone invited me. Thank you. Someone invited me and I was in my high heels and there was the mud. And she said, you can't dress like this here in Vermont. And I'm like, well, then what am I supposed to be here?
Yeah.
So yeah, but this was my look and also my expression. It was, I would want to call it even very controlling, and not in a negative way, but just I controlled my hair, I controlled my outfit. Everything was just so.
Did that feel safe in some way?
It did, very much so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because why do we control? Now,
right.
To have a sense of safety. It's a great question.
Yeah. Thanks. So you moved to Vermont in your heels.
In my heels.
Someone says, no, you can't do that in the mud season.
And then
continue with your story.
Due to circumstances, let me see, where do I start? I was coming up there with a man, and I do not want to go much into that because that's his own story to tell. And we were just landing in a motel in Shelburne and wanted to, I was applying at the hospital in Vermont and got the job. And right when I got this job, actually as a nursing assistant.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a bigger story why I couldn't be a nurse at that moment. Yeah. Paperwork. Okay. And then I developed meningitis for the second time in my life. And instead of working in the hospital, I was a patient. Yeah. And it's the second time. And they said, wow, that's like winning the lottery twice, but in a bad way, of course. Yeah. Because it's very unusual and no one really knew what was going on. I was there for 4 days and then I was discharged. And at that time, I found out that the money that we've put aside wasn't there anymore. And I'm going to leave it as that. And so we were homeless.
No.
And a beautiful man, I'm going to call out his name because he's wonderful, David in Vermont. He said, I'm selling my house, but you can go in there. And it was just a house empty. There was one couch and one futon in another room. So I slept on the couch and my partner, which we separated at that time, slept in the other room. And I was sick as can be. As can be. Yeah. And
like fever, I don't know what meningitis does to you.
Oh, this is a great question. I had weakness on my right side, almost like someone has a stroke. My brain wasn't really functioning well. I looked like almost like multiple sclerosis symptoms, stuttering, and wherever your brain function is affected. And for me, it got affected in my frontal lobe. My body gets affected. Little did we know at that time, which now we do, now meaning my team of people, that it resulted actually from a brain injury, a really severe one, which I had in 1999.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so my brain got inflamed and it was, it was.
That's fun. Not good.
No. Yeah. And so long story short, I was as sick as can be. And there was someone coming from San Diego, a spiritual teacher, who did a workshop for my group of people, the people that I started to get to know in Vermont. And he heard about me. And I have to say, I also didn't have food. I didn't know about food shelves and I had no food, no money, basically homeless. Although I had a roof over my head, I was very sick. And he heard about me and he said, I want her to be at my workshop. She doesn't have to pay. And so I was there that weekend.
Nice.
And that in itself, everything he was talking about, I was just there bright-eyed, like, what world is this? It was very spiritual. He talked about how we can heal ourselves. He talked about the power of our mind, the power of how we can control our bodies, manifesting. He talked about things that were brand new to me.
Yeah, and this was 2010? No.
This was 2010.
Okay. So manifestation
this was the weekend, somewhere in June 2010.
Okay.
Yeah. So a whole new world opened up to me while I was living in this weird, energetic place of where's my life going? You know, I came from Maryland to Vermont. I was working 6 days a week. I was making really good money. I had my own place. And here I'm homeless and I'm sick and I cannot work and I don't have any money. And here's this man just opening up something in me. Unbelievable. I mean, believable, but it was grand. Yes. Yeah. So this was Sunday night. I go back to my little couch in David's wonderful house. And I'm like, okay, what's next? And it became Tuesday. And this is my pivotal big moment. I mean, all of this really was leading up to it. And Tuesday, I was walking across the street with my leg that didn't quite function. And I wasn't fast enough. You know, the light was already red. Yeah, it was green and I was walking. It became orange. It became red. And so the cars were blowing their horns at me, like, you know, get going. It's often those small things that shift something in us. Yeah, here I had this big weekend that shifted something in me. Here I had meningitis that shifted something in me. But it was this small moment that just broke me. It broke
horn.
Me. Yeah. What use I am in this life. What use I am. Yeah. How did I get myself into this situation? Yeah. And so with the last little money I had, I don't really know.
So wait, hold on. I want to make sure I'm seeing the picture. Okay. So you're walking across the street and you're struggling because of the meningitis and it's how it's affecting your body. And people are honking your horn and telling you to hurry up.
Yeah.
And something shifted for you. So when somebody honked their horn, it was like, what? I want to understand more. Like, what was it that shifted with that car horn?
I felt like I have no place in this world. I was successful. In Germany, I was a nurse. I was teaching nursing students. I was I was very well known. This was 20 years ago, and they still ask my mom, or have asked my mom. She's not working in the hospital anymore, but they asked my mom, how is Kassia doing? They remember me. Wow. I was good at what I was doing. I was really good.
You still are.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And so I just felt useless.
You felt useless.
I felt like I have no place in this world. Yeah. I felt like people had their lives figured out. And for me, and for me, I am a total mess. No, more than that. Homeless, foodless. I mean, I had a little bit of food. I had a tiny little bit of money. Foodless, homeless, jobless, and no direction in life.
And it hit you as you were crossing the street and people are honking at you. Like, there they, come on.
Why am I here?
Yeah.
Why am I here?
And so you're feeling like, why am I here?
Yeah. And I decided to not be here anymore. Yeah. And so I made a plan to commit suicide. And I took 100 sleeping pills. Yeah. Out of 100, there were still, I think, 12, 13 pills laying on the floor, but almost 100 sleeping pills.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
On the little couch.
On that little couch. Thank you for saying that. That's exactly on that little couch, feeling as alone as you could feel. Yeah.
So, I'm so sad. I'm so sorry that anyone
and this
gets to
is
that
hard
place.
to say because there's a stigma around that. And I want to change that stigma.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's how we feel sometimes, like we don't have a place here in life. We don't have a purpose here in life. Because that is part of what I bring to the people, their purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this hard thing.
Thank you. I woke up the next day hallucinating or really seeing. Hallucinating or seeing what is. I saw the Matrix. In every corner of the room, I saw the web of the Matrix moving like this and beautiful purple colors.
Were you in the hospital?
I was still at that house.
Uh-huh.
And I was standing outside on the street, and there was a car. And in that car, there was this, who was first? I have to think about it. There was this man just doing this to me. And I walked
like
to the car.
Come closer type of
Walked to
movement.
the car. And there's this beautiful, gorgeous man with silver hair in his 65, 70s.
Mm.
And I just look at him and he disappears.
Oh, boy.
And I walked on the road again. I mean, I was totally out of it.
Yeah.
And the car calls me back. And now there's a woman sitting in the car.
Oh, my gosh.
She was just like a goddess woman. And I look at her and she disappears. And I walk to this car a third time, and there's a Native American man playing the flute in the car. And I look at it and he disappears. And I'm like, those are my guides. Those are my guides. And then David came, and he saw immediately something is wrong with me. He took me to the hospital. And they said it should have killed me, but it didn't.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was met with the most wonderful doctor in this hospital who said, you don't need to be put on medication. You don't need anything besides a reset. He saw me for who I was. And for many days, I was still hallucinating due to the medication. But then I realized, wow, I'm seeing. I was in the hospital. 2 doctors took care of me. And they were 12, 13, 14 foot tall. And they were just light beings. They were not human.
Yeah.
Light beings.
Yeah.
And someone took my blood on my left arm, and he was not of the light.
He was not what?
He was not of the light. Very scary.
Yeah.
And I said, what am I seeing here? And I just took it all in. And I realized something big has shifted in my life. But I didn't quite know what.
Yeah.
It was much later. When I say much later, a few weeks, few months after I got out of the hospital. And I was talking to friends. They often came to me for guidance. That was already before all of this happened.
Like in real
life. And they were saying, Kassia, you always had good input when we asked you for guidance, but there's something different about you. Whatever you say, it changes my life.
Wow.
And that's when I realized what I'm saying isn't me. It flows through me. And what I'm saying to them is an inner seeing. I see whole movies when I talk to people, when they ask for guidance. It's not just a word or a hearing. Yeah, we call that I don't even know the words for it. Now, when you have a gift of hearing, a gift of seeing, a gift of smelling, I see whole movies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that changed my whole life and my whole life trajectory.
I'm thinking.
Yes, I'm giving you a pause here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the pause. So you lived a pretty normal, I don't know, kind of going through the motions life.
Yeah.
And the meningitis, crossing the road, having this workshop with this teacher, and a few days later feeling I'm just worthless, and you attempted to take your life. Which one of those things do you feel it was the catalyst for who you are and what you do now? And do you call yourself an intuit? What?
It took me a long time to find a title, because what I do, there is no title. A psychic doesn't work for me. An intuitive is almost too small of a box, as well as a medium. I don't have any mediums where my messages come from. Or the messages for the people in front of me. I don't channel it through loved ones who have passed over, angels. It comes from the pureness, which, by the way, my name Kassia means pure.
Oh.
Yeah.
Of course it does.
The pureness of source. People call it God, love, light, universe, great spirit. For me, it's God essence, because I have seen God essence, like truly seen God essence. And then I don't filter it. And that is something very unusual, because a lot of people who see, they still filter it through their own understandings. So what I have heard, I'm not going to say goodness about myself. I only tell you what people say.
Yeah.
They say there is a pureness behind it that they've never experienced before. Yeah.
I like that. And I like that you haven't labeled yourself.
Yeah. When people ask me, what do? I do say I'm an intuitive consultant. Because when I sit with people, it's not just about in 2024, you're going to meet your love and you're going to have 2 kids and it's a boy and a girl.
Yeah.
The work that I do for clients who are often becoming client friends, is deeply, deeply transformative. It is often becoming their pivotal point in life. Where they say, my life isn't the same anymore since I came in contact with you. So what I experienced is actually what I then bring in to clients in a less harsh way, but yes, in a much kinder and gentler way than what I experienced.
Yeah. It's so interesting about the belief in intuitive consultant, psychic, whatever you want to call it, mediums.
Yeah.
I think there tend to be 2 groups of people, or 2 types of categories when it comes to psychic intuition, and either they flat out don't believe it, right? Or they go to a psychic, but they don't tell anyone. It's kind of a secretive thing.
Yes.
And so for people who are in category number 1, I would think it would be really hard for them to hear, like, I had this life and then events happen. And then I came back from life after this near-death experience and was an intuitive. And that's for them to believe or not believe. But what do you say about, do you say things to people who are like, really, I don't believe it? Yeah.
I mean, I'm not here to take people out of their experience. If they want to be out of their experience in another experience, they will ask. So curiosity makes them ask. If someone is curious, they say, in a sense, I'm here, but I'm curious about what is there. And so they ask in various ways. When someone says, I don't quite believe it, but with that open-ended, that is a question
I want to believe, maybe. Yeah.
I often tune in when people ask me, what do you do? And sometimes I simply say, I'm a consultant. They do not want to meet. They don't want to know more. Oh, great. Awesome. Yeah. What do you consult in? Oh, there's no cap to it. People come to me from all walks of life. I work with businesses. I work with families. I work with teenagers. And I work with people one-on-one. And so that's all they want to know. I don't need to say, and I'm an intuitive, and put my lifestyle onto them. It's not necessary. But with this openness and the curiosity, I say as much as I feel is necessary. And if there are follow-up questions, that means they want to know more. However, I'm your biggest skeptic. I've been skeptical about that was a hard word, about anything in regards to seeing. I have seen that psychics can wreak havoc in people's lives. And so the message.
But is it, without knowing what you're going to say, and I apologize for the interruption. But is it the psychic who has wreaked havoc, or is it the person who is taking everything that they say at a black and white value, at a, I don't know.
It's both. And I've put a lot of thought, contemplation, and also asking for guidance around that question. It is both. A gift like that carries tremendous responsibility. And so that is my biggest thing. Integrity is almost my middle name in that work. And that's what people know, to be in integrity. And to know what responsibility it carries. Because I tell people big stuff. The messages, not I, but the messages that flow through me. I'm the vessel. The messages are not mine. And there's often really, really big stuff, which I often cannot talk about because now confidentiality.
Absolutely.
That is also a big thing. Are you being in confidentiality? And how much are you seeing about the person? Are you going to walk to them up in the supermarket and say, I see this and this about you? We have no right with this gift. See, this is where I get on my soapbox.
No, I love it. I want to hear.
Overstep spiritual boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the first things I asked to the universe, don't let me see anything about anyone unless they are in a session and they want to be seen. And don't let me see anything about anyone unless their soul is asking for it. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I do approach strangers and I tell them things because the messages don't stop. Tell that person this. And for them, whatever I say is life-changing. Life-changing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when people hear of you and they book a session with you, what are people generally coming to you with? What questions?
There's no cap to it. No. There is no cap to it. So in a nutshell, we could say health, children, partnership. And I only see when they ask me about their other partner, I only see about them if on a spiritual level that partner invites me in. Otherwise, I have no business in even looking into why do they act the way they do. But sometimes the higher self says, yes, please share. So our relationship can come back together. Or so we can move forward. So family dynamics that are puzzling to us. Why do I always have issues with this person? Businesses in regards to what am I here to do? Why is my business not growing? My purpose here in life. And here is one of the things that I've been so skeptical about. And it's the most fascinating thing for me. I see alien beings.
Oh, wow.
All the time.
Really?
I see that a lot is relative out of almost 8 billion people. I mean, this is for me still hard to share. I see that quite a good amount is not from here. And those are the ones who say, well, you guys are here and you would like to be there. I have done that journey. I come from another place. Higher doesn't mean better. We are all playing roles. The earthling role, the people here on earth, it's a beautiful role to play. And then there are other planetary experiences where the role is just different. And we have people coming from other planets who say, being there, done that, how can we assist you? And the earthlings are so happy. They are not saying, whoa, who do you think you are? They're saying, thank you for being here. Why are you hiding? Why are you pretending to be an earthling when we asked you to come here?
We're going to take a short break now to hear from our sponsor, Take Passage Coaching. This is still Mary, and I happen to be the owner and lead coach of Take Passage Coaching, and I'm thrilled I asked myself to be my own sponsor. Seriously, though, Take Passage Coaching is a trauma-informed, transformational coaching practice that supports people who are ready to move from uncertainty and doubt to the ability to clarify what they expect from themselves. At Take Passage Coaching, I work with clients to help them look at their negative thoughts not as the messy parts of themselves to stuff away, but how to use those thoughts as fuel. I know you've probably heard all of the promises before, and you may have been working on your stuff for ages with not much progress. But one reason why Take Passage Coaching is different is that I celebrate all of your messy parts, the parts you're embarrassed about, the things you may consider weaknesses, and I help you to see them that they are all gifts and they are all strengths. So whether you're someone who has experienced trauma, and if you're human, you have, or are ready to do the scary things in life that you've been telling yourself you can't, Take Passage Coaching is ready to help you with the transition and change that you want. So go ahead and reach out to takepassagecoaching.com to book a free exploratory session and take good care. This is so fascinating because this is what's coming up for me. I believe people are intuitive. I believe that some people have the ability to tap into a different sight, a different way of thinking, seeing things, however you want to describe it. But when you say aliens, I'm like, really?
Yes.
And all of a sudden, this wall goes up for me, and I'm like, that is kind of bananas.
It is.
Because that's not something I
It is bananas. It's good bananas though. It's a good banana split.
It's a banana split.
Yeah, same. If you would have told me that 10 years, 15 years ago, I would have said, whatever. And my eyes would glaze over. So that is actually my edge in regards to, I can now comfortably talk about what I do. But with the alien stuff, however, I see so many people, there's no human flesh. I just see them for who they are.
Wow.
When I tell them, however, they are all coming home. They're like, now my life makes sense. Now I understand. I can often tell them about their home planet. I can often tell them about who they are. For example, yesterday, and this I can share openly, someone visited the house I was living in, and she is very spiritual and very open. And she was talking about alien stuff, not me. And she said, I think I'm from the seventh dimension, serious. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're home is the blue avians. And I showed her images that people, painted, and it's on the webpage. And she just had tears in her eyes. And she said, of course. Now my whole life makes sense. She read about the character traits of the blue avians. They look like birds and very blue. And she said, I've been so drawn to the movie Avatar, which those beings have been based on the blue avians. And she said, no, it all makes sense. That is just what I experience when I tell people when they want to know, their life makes more sense. Yeah. Does the rest of society have to believe in it? Not at all.
Right.
It is just important for the person who's not from here, and they get to have a home, and they get to have an understanding. Planet Earth for them is their workplace. It's not their home. And how many people do we have who say, I don't feel like I'm from here?
Yeah.
You probably heard that before.
Oh, I've felt it and heard it. And and I think a lot of people feel that. And so it kind of sounds like you are the ultimate welcoming being for people who don't feel welcome. And in fact, I wanted to read a quote from your website, which is kassiagolden.com. You have a quote on there that says, we have all chosen each other. This is a quote by you. We have all chosen each other to play a role in each other's lives, some small, some major, yet all of them uniquely and equally important. Can you talk about that a little bit and how that relates to the person honking the horn as you were crossing the street or when you were on your couch taking sleeping pills?
Can you ask me more in detail? Sounds like too broad, and I don't know.
That was a big question. So it feels as though we're all here for a reason, and it's from this quote this is how I'm translating it. We're all here for a reason, and it is to kind of going back to what you first said. It's either to help people, it's to welcome people, it's to enhance the bigger collective, or you're somebody who's like kind of moving along and learning. And so, how did your defining moment, whether it's someone honking the horn or sitting on that couch, how does that relate to what you do in the world, which feels like welcoming people in many ways?
And reminding them of what they came here to.
Yeah.
So the first group who's more here for their own soul development, of course, also helping people, but the emphasis is more on their own soul development. And group number 2, who's here to assist, in that soul development, are of course also here to have their own soul development. But the emphasis is more on how can I help you? How can I assist? I don't know if I can answer this well. Let me see. The clients that are being put in front of me, because I don't advertise. They are, one person sends them to me, then the next person, and the next person. You have to talk to Kassia. Often people who don't know what they truly came here to do, what their purpose here is. Those are often people, it's not always, but it's a large percentage who say, I know I'm here for more than what I'm doing.
Yeah. There's something else. There's got to be something else. Yes.
It's that searching. It's that soul searching. I believe that we have free will in life. However, we come in with proofs, a few predetermined landmarks. So we are on the path. I call it always, there's on the path in life, and there are landmarks that we hit. What we do with those is up to us. Yeah. And so a big one is, well, what do you came here to do? What did you come here to do?
Yeah. And do you think your defining moment was like, boom, this is what you're supposed to be doing?
100%. I've got very clear messages. You were a good nurse, but with this, you are helping people in a broader way. Because as a nurse, what do I help with? Their health and well-being. No.
Yeah.
And I can talk to them for 5 minutes tops, and I have to be out of the door. I'm still a nurse.
Yeah,
just in a different way.
Yeah.
And now, I have clients all over the world, Switzerland, Brazil, everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, I was reading through the testimonials on your site, and I was like, holy cow. I mean, first, there's so many, and they're all pretty amazing. Very, very positive.
Amazing people that are being brought on my path. What we have to, and maybe this helps also, it's not easy for me to answer this question, because the people who come to me, it could be just anything. No, women who want to get pregnant. Is their soul coming in, and I can let them know, and when and how, and women who have fertility issues, those are often in my life too. Women who have lost their babies, often in my life too. There's a lot around suicide, of course. Where I bring guidance in. End of life care is a big one for me too, in various ways. End of life care.
End of life care. Yeah.
Big one too.
I bet you're so good at that.
Thank you. It's one of the areas there's an emphasis in regards to the people who are being sent to me. So what was I going to say? I've lost the people who come. I think it's just repeating it.
Okay.
Like there's more. What is it? Who am I, first of all? Who am I? This is what I wanted to say. We come in, and we know as little babies, this is what I came here to do. And we are all excited and so happy. And then life puts layers onto us. We are getting conditioned with how society thinks we ought to be. And I call it the cookie cutter approach. And what I'm here to do is I take off the layers of who you truly are. And who you came here to be. Those are two different things. Who you truly are and what you came here to do. And when we take off the layers, that person is already fully here. And that is always so beautiful, the revealing of your true essence. And when I then see who people are, everyone is so unique. And so we have professions, they have their place. A therapist, I send some clients to therapists. Some are the therapists. You have to be careful. A life coach, I send them to life coach, to have an ongoing relationship with someone who keeps them straight on their path. It is, however, this taking of the layers and whoops, here you are, and makes people to shine the way they ought to shine here. Yeah.
I love it. It feels very selfless and pure. I have a few more questions. Is that okay?
Can I have one moment? I often close my eyes because then I see one moment. There was something important I wanted to say. Thank you. It is the uniqueness. I see everyone so unique because they have experienced the cookie cutter approach. This is how we function here on planet Earth. And this is how we do it. And it often doesn't work for all those unique people who come into my life. And I get to tell them, this is uniquely who you are. This is how you function here. I
love that. Again, it's like, I feel like so many people don't feel like they are seen in the life. Maybe they're not even seeing themselves. And you have this ability to see and to guide. One of the questions that is coming up for me as you're talking is, so we all have experiences in our life, from the most horrendous to the most beautiful, and either they're hoisted upon us or they're given to us. Do you feel as though all of those experiences are purposefully designed to help us learn something, or do they just happen? That's a tough one.
Me personally, I think it's both. However, when I work with clients, there has not been one instance where it was just things happen and that's it. So for me personally, I sometimes just think things just sometimes simply happen. And when I talk to clients, whatever it's been, whatever they've experienced, good, bad, ugly, there was always a purpose behind it. Always. With the track record of me doing this for almost 13 years now, with hundreds and hundreds of people, it all feels like that there's always a purpose. I don't like when people immediately bypass and put everything into the light and it's all good. Yeah. I like to acknowledge first, when someone had severe trauma, what it actually did, and that it wasn't okay what your parents did, and it wasn't okay what your partner did. Acknowledge first. And that's what people often don't get in spiritual communities. It's immediately, there's a purpose to it.
What's the lesson here? Right. Oh, I'm sure
what's the lesson here? You drew this to you. Be happy because this is going to make you grow.
Which is so dismissive to the person who has experienced loss or trauma or whatever it might be.
So step number one is always acknowledge. And what did it do to you? And that it was not okay. We get to say that if there's a purpose behind it or not, it wasn't okay. And then the second part is always looking into the gift. And there's always a gift in it. Always.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Often the people who have the biggest wounding are the ones who are teaching. What the wounding that they experienced is usually the gift that they bring into the world.
And I think, because of chemical makeup, how people were raised, they can experience trauma. And sometimes if we all are lucky, they're able to take that trauma and either help others or have a different view of life or whatever it might be. And it's really, really hard, especially for people who have had lifelong trauma, severe childhood trauma. It doesn't even really matter. It's just, it's different for everybody. But and I do believe that there are lessons and gifts there. But for some folks, it's not possible for them ever to see it because it was so detrimental.
And it's not always lessons.
Right.
You don't always have those experiences to learn something from. That is so dismissive. Sometimes when people say, what's your lesson here?
Thank you for saying that.
What's the gift in this that you now bring to the world? Sometimes it doesn't have to be that they work with other people around that subject. It could be that they are finding compassion. Or look at this. I had a horrible childhood. My mom was just really bad. My dad was an alcoholic and often wasn't there. And someone did a past life regression for me, or this life regression. And I looked at my mom. I was 2 years old. And I said, I came here to love, and you don't want it. You don't want it. And I was like, it's a big core wound. I come here to love. And a lot of people, not a lot, but some people are like, whoa, stay away from me. It's too much love for me. I don't feel worthy. However, that core wound, what's the gift in that? The gift is because my mom wasn't there. I had to find another connection with something. And it brought me closer to God. So I'm not religious in one way or another, but it's my God. And so that's that gift in it. What my mother did was atrocious, horrendous. You could write a book about it.
I'm sorry.
And thank you.
And it's not your fault.
And the inner child wants to say, yes, please be sorry because this wasn't okay. I do a lot of inner child work too for people. Or outer child. I want them to put the inner child in front of them, not inside. So we can talk to the 7-year-old, 3-year-old. And so, but the gift in there it drew me to something bigger than my mom. I wanted to find something that nourishes me and holds me the way a mother would. And it brought me to beautiful source.
Wow. So along those lines, what is the message to share from your defining moment?
A few things. It is often when your world looks like it's ending, the darkest part, and that's often when clients come to me, when your new life is starting. So don't give up. Don't give up. I mean, they say as a midwife, when the pregnant mother who is in giving birth, when she says, I cannot do this anymore, the midwife rejoices because she knows the end is near. The baby is now coming out, like truly coming out. And that's a big message. When you feel like it's truly the end, that is usually right. You are right on that cusp. So don't give up when it looks the darkest. And the other one is, we all are here to bring something to this world. If it's a big gift, a small gift, I always say your presence is your gift to this world. You don't have to do any work. You don't have to be anything besides being you. Be your presence. Your presence is a present to this world.
Could you say that again?
Your presence is a present, a gift, a present to this world.
I love that. Your presence is the present.
Yes, to this world. Everything else is just icing on the cake, whatever you do. But your presence, you can be in the supermarket smiling at someone and you have no idea what you did in your surroundings. We often don't know how our presence is so important in life. And so I want to say to everyone, your presence, if you wouldn't be here, there would be truly something missing here. Something would be missing here. Yeah. You came here for a reason. That's the truth. You have a purpose here. And then people always say, they think it needs to be a big purpose, like being an intuitive, being a doctor, being a life coach, doing this, doing that. No, the mother with her 2 children at home, what an influence she has on her children, maybe on other mothers around her, maybe her influence just at the playground, just her presence. She doesn't have to become a life coach for all the other mothers sitting there. Just her presence. That's what I wish people would know, because when I see anyone and everyone, wherever I go, I always wish they could see themselves. We all are shining, radiant, important people, each in their own way. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be this big purpose. The small things are as big as what I'm doing. The small things are just as important.
I feel like so many people need to hear that and take it in and believe it, because people can hear that and they're like, I'm no different. I'm not doing anything, and especially oftentimes people who have experienced trauma, there's this, oh my gosh, Kassia. Wow. This has been amazing and enlightening. And
thank you so much.
Oh my gosh. And thank you for your bravery and speaking very candidly about your gifts and your past and seeing everybody's uniqueness with integrity. It's a lovely, lovely gift you have. You have many amazing gifts, and I'm so glad that you were willing to share those with us.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And I hope to see you soon.
Thank you for doing what you are doing.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Kassia. Bye.
Bye.
This has been Our Defining Moments with Mary McClements. I'm back next week with more stories of moments in time that changed someone's life forever. Please rate and review the show and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you have a defining moment and want to share, head over to the Our Defining Moment website at ourdefiningmoments.com and click on Share a Moment. I'm always interested in people's stories, and I may feature you on the podcast.